On a clear morning in December 1917, a ship caught fire in Halifax harbour. It burned for 20 minutes, and it was the most spectacular thing the city had ever seen. So 50,000 people stopped what they were doing and went to the windows to watch. Then the ship exploded. It was the largest explosion human beings had ever produced, and nothing beat it until 1945. Nearly 2,000 people died. 9,000 were injured, most of them by their own windows. And every December since, Nova Scotia has sent Boston a Christmas tree. By the end of this, you will know why. Halifax, Nova Scotia, a cold Atlantic port with one of the deepest natural harbors in the world. In 1917, it is the busiest it has ever been, because the war is 3 years old. Every convoy crossing to Europe forms up here. Troops, food and ammunition all pass through. Between the harbor and the basin above, it lies a channel 800 meters wide called the Narrows. Everything going in or out has to squeeze through it. That morning, 2 ships try at once. The first is a French freighter called the Mont-Blanc. She has come up from New York. She is old, slow, and completely full. In her holds are 2,500 tons of picric acid, an explosive used in shells. With it 200 tons of TNT and 50 tons of gun cotton, and stacked on her open deck, in metal drums, several hundred tons of benzol, high-octane fuel, nearly 3,000 tons of explosive in one hull. She flies no warning flag. Carrying, one would have told every German submarine in the Atlantic exactly what she was. The second ship is the Emo, a Norwegian steamer chartered to carry relief supplies to occupied Belgium. She is empty, riding high, and she is running late. She was supposed to leave the day before. Her coal arrived too slowly and the harbor gates closed for the night. So at 8:15, she comes down through the Narrows in a hurry on the wrong side. 2 ships, 1 channel, and neither is where the other expects. They see each other with plenty of room to spare. They exchange whistle signals to say what they will do. Each signal is answered with the opposite. Each captain believes the other has agreed to move. Both ships cut their engines, both drift, and now neither has steerage. At the last moment, the Emo reverses. The reversal swings her bow directly into the Mont-Blanc. It is a slow collision. It barely dents her. But as the Emo pulls free, steel drags across steel, and the drums on the deck fall and split open. Sparks benzol. The deck catches fire in seconds. The crew of the Mont-Blanc know precisely what is under that fire. They launch both lifeboats and row for the far shore as hard as they can. They shout warnings as they go. They shout them in French. Nobody on the Halifax side understands, and the burning ship drifts towards the piers. She comes to rest against Pier 6 and sets it alight. The smoke is enormous, black, and shot with color. It is honestly a magnificent thing to look at. So the city comes to look. Dock workers stop. School children are led to the windows. Whole streets come out onto their steps. Everybody is facing the harbor. Everybody is standing behind glass. In the railway yard at Richmond, a train dispatcher is at his telegraph key. His name is Vince Coleman. He is 45, and he has a wife and 4 children a few streets away. A sailor runs into the office and tells them what is on the burning ship. Coleman and his chief clerk run. They get clear. Then Coleman remembers the passenger train, number 10, inbound from St. John, around 300 people aboard. He turns around and goes back to the quay. What he sends is roughly this: hold up the train, ammunition ship on fire, making for Pier 6, and will explode. Guess this will be my last message. Goodbye, boys. 9 hours, 4 minutes and 35 seconds past midnight. The picric acid detonates. The fireball is hotter than 5000 degrees. For a fraction of a second there is a small sun over the harbor. The water under the ship is thrown clean off the harbor floor. The bottom is briefly visible. The blast wave crosses the city at over 1000 meters a second. Every building in the north end is knocked down or knocked apart. It is heard 300 kilometers away on Cape Breton. The ship itself stops existing. Nearly 3,000 tons of steel becomes shrapnel. Her anchor shank weighs half a ton. It lands 3.5 kilometers away. One of her cannons comes down 5 kilometers away on the far side of the harbor. Then the water comes back. The displaced harbor returns as a wave 18 meters above the high water mark. It takes the shoreline, the piers, and a Mi'kmaq community that had lived in the cove for generations. That settlement was never rebuilt. Roughly 1,800 people are killed, most of them in the first 2 seconds. 9,000 more are injured in a city of about 50,000. 6,000 are left with no home at all. In December in Nova Scotia, 12,000 buildings are damaged. 25,000 people have no adequate shelter. Then the stoves. Every house in the north end was heated by a coal or wood stove, and every one of them went over. What the blast left standing the fires took. And there is a particular cruelty in how the injuries fell. The fire had been burning for 20 minutes. It was the most interesting scene anyone had ever seen. So the whole city was at the windows looking directly at it when the glass came in. Nearly 6,000 people suffer eye injuries. Dozens lose their sight completely. The doctors who treated them wrote it all down, and the medical world learned from it. Halifax is one of the reasons eye trauma care advanced when it did. It is a horrible way to earn that. The survivors dig through the night, pulling people out of cellars and wreckage by hand. And then, the next morning, the weather arrives. A blizzard drops 40 centimeters of snow on a city with no roofs. It stops the trains, buries the wreckage, and hides the people still under it. Rescue work simply halts for a day. Word gets out along the telegraph lines before they go down. Boston hears about it the same day. Boston is 1,000 kilometers away. Massachusetts does not wait to be asked and does not wait for a formal request. A relief train leaves that night, loaded with doctors, nurses, and supplies. It runs straight into the blizzard and takes 30 hours to cover the distance. It arrives at 2 in the morning on the 8th of December, and the doctors go straight to work. More trains and ships follow. Massachusetts keeps sending help for months. 26 hours after the blast, a soldier hears something under a collapsed house. Under an overturned stove, in the ash pan, there is a child. She is 23 months old. The stove had fallen in a way that made a pocket of air around her. She grows up known across the city as Ashpan Annie, and she lives to be 95. Vince Coleman's train stopped. Everyone aboard it lived. He never knew he was killed at his desk, at the quay, mid-sentence. Someone had to be blamed, and the first inquiry blamed the French. The Mont-Blanc's captain and the harbour pilot were arrested and charged with manslaughter. The charges did not survive contact with the evidence. Both men were released. The higher courts eventually landed where the facts were. Both ships were at fault. Nobody had done anything malicious. A series of small ordinary misunderstandings had killed a city. The following Christmas, 1 year on, Nova Scotia sent Boston a tree. It was a thank you, and at the time it was a one-off. Halifax rebuilt. The flattened district came back as some of the first public housing in Canada. Nuclear physicists later studied what happened at Halifax, because there was nothing else to study. It stayed the largest man-made explosion on Earth for 28 years. Then in 1971, Nova Scotia started sending the tree again, and has not stopped since. It is cut in Nova Scotia, driven to Boston and lit on the Common every single year. A city that was destroyed still says thank you to the strangers who came. If you got this far, you want the history that gets buried under the headlines. Subscribe and I will keep digging it up.